You're listening to Candidate Conversations on the WIDU Radio Network. I'm your host, Jay Reinstein, and today I have with me William Toonk Wesley, running for Cumberland County Commission at large.
Yes, sir. Commissioner.
Commissioner.
Yes, sir.
Welcome to Candidate Conversations.
Thank you for having me. Glad to be here.
Yeah. If you could, spend a few minutes just telling our listeners just a little bit about yourself and why you would want to run for county commissioner.
Well, about myself, I'm a lifelong resident of Cumberland County. I've attended elementary all the way through collegiate here. Why I decided to run is because the people need someone who can speak on their level, who speak for themselves as well. Also, my years experience of education helped greatly. I'm a 30-year educator with public schools. I currently work at Cape Fear High School in the Restorative Justice Program. As we move forward, I have worked with the 21st Century Program and Army Youth Programs in your neighborhood. So there are programs that reach out into the community, bring education to the students, bring skill sets and things of that nature. It's a wraparound program that was funded by the government for a period of time. Also, when you think about education and what I do, it's important that you have parent involvement, student involvement. It's a collaborative situation.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure we keep that collaborative spirit here in Cumberland County and within our government.
Great.
So that's why I'm running, to make sure that we exhausted all possibilities to make Cumberland County the best place to live and an opportunity to thrive for all our county residents. And when I say all our county residents, I'm talking about the hamlets, the town, and the city of Fayetteville. Right. Too often when we talk about Cumberland County, you only hear about Fayetteville and Cumberland County.
Right, true.
Cumberland County is much bigger, much broader, and have more people that are invested in Cumberland County, so we have to make sure we meet their needs. So that's why I'm running, to make sure that I speak for the common, everyday person who wants to see life better for them, themselves, and their future.
Great, thank you so much. Again, one of the things that people will want to know is, as far as the single biggest challenge, this will be the first time you're running for office.
Yes, sir.
And there are always challenges in communities. Is there a specific challenge that you want to focus on, if elected, for Cumberland County Commissioner at large?
Is
there anything that you can talk, it can be one, two, anything
I have multiple
Sure.
on my platform, but the two major ones I want to focus on is education and making sure we're taking care of our elderly, which involve our veterans as well. Too often when you go to shopping centers and places of that nature, you look at the parking lots, it's only 2 parking spaces for the handicapped.
Right.
When you go to public restrooms or other areas, sometimes they're closed or locked. So if you have a disability, if you're older, that's a problem within the county. Right. Also, I want to make sure that we're doing everything to make sure we're reaching out to our elderly and making sure they have the resources. We have 2 rec centers here. In a city this size, we need to have more for elderly folks. And in terms of education should be a wraparound process. Too often we look at it from an 8 to 3 or whatever the time frame school. True education is a wraparound lifetime process, but also you have to have the intangibles. And one of the intangible education is funding.
Yeah.
It's a
Very true.
major part of education. And as a county, we should preserve a percentage or a stipend or something for our teachers to ensure that they're receiving the highest stipend or one of the highest stipends in the state.
Yeah.
When you have more stipend and you give the people, the teachers, more money, that keeps them here.
That's true.
That solves their turnover rate. So long as teachers stay here, the more input you have with the student and more consistency for the student.
Yeah, thank you. Again, education is important. I have 2 daughters, both are public school teachers. So, retaining those teachers, paying them a commensurate wage is important. Cumberland County is changing all the time. How do we balance economic development with making sure that we're protecting the neighborhoods and the quality of life?
Well, most people want the same thing. They want to be safe. And in order to do that, you have to have true conversations and find out what the needs are. I can sit here and tell you what I think they are, but you have to go out and do research and listen to the individuals. Now, from my personal experience and looking out, the county has to look at infrastructure, lighting, in the newer development areas on the roadways, in the newer development neighborhoods. You have to look at making sure that people feel like they still have that county feel. When you think about moving out to the county, you want to be that isolation normally. You want to be by yourself, and plus it's cheaper. But when you come to this beautiful city of Fayetteville, you want to come to a city, a metropolitan that has resources, entertainment, things for you to enjoy. Because if you don't do that, those folks that live in the county are going to skip over Fayetteville and go to Raleigh and go to Charlotte. So I think the county needs to do a more investment within the city to ensure that we work together to build up the city of Fayetteville and the other surrounding cities. What I found interesting, the last time they was talking about community safety with the merger of the Cumberland County 911 and the city,
exactly.
You had Fayetteville there and you had Cumberland County, but what about Hope Mills? What about Spring Lake? What about those individuals? And they need to be brought to the table too. We operate in too many silos. I am very convinced that we have to be more collaborative and intentionally collaborative with our efforts.
I was going to just ask you about collaboration. Again, we're talking to William Toonk Wesley, running for Cumberland County Commissioner at large. I was just going to talk to you about collaboration, but I'm going to move on to public safety, and you've also mentioned that too. But where does the county commissioners, what role do they play with public safety, the sheriff's department, and are they doing as good a job as they can? And if they're not, what would you want them to do differently?
I believe they're doing the best job within the traditional setting. I think we have to think out of the box when we look at policing and county sheriff and policing in total. What I would recommend that you take time to understand what's going on. Now, you mentioned with the unification of the county and the city. Well, I believe that the county should run our 911, but I have a caveat for that. I think the federal city should operate a special unit, sort of like a cyber tech unit, for law enforcement, for their drones, for your cameras, for the technology that the county isn't or haven't been trained to work on yet. So I think it's a combined effort. And one thing about the sheriff department, the sheriff is voted, so that's power. So he's going to, or she should, make sure they're doing the will of the community. And you said that right. I think there's been so much talk over the years, even since I left in 2018-19, about a combined 911 center. I hear, it seems like it's on track, then it's not on track. I'm not really sure where it stands today. But, you mentioned that you think it would be better, 911 would be better handled by the county and maybe with a piece handled by the city. Is that right? I just want to make sure I have that right. Yes, let me make sure I clear that up.
Yeah.
Yes, I do believe that 911 would be best handled by the county based on they have a better understanding of certain areas that the federal 911 center doesn't have, and the sheriff. And so you need faster response. If an error happens in the county, it takes a long time for a sheriff or a fire department to cover. Within the city, you have multiple police, you have multiple fire departments, so you can recover much faster. You don't have that same privilege out in the county. Now, within the federal taking care of the technology piece, I think it's imperative, because they have the best trained 911 center. They are award-winning. I was speaking to the police chief about it, and we see things a little differently, and I understand that. However, after listening to him, that convinced me, wait a minute, we must make sure that we include that technology piece in
Yeah.
our policing.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. We know that a lot of people think that the county is responsible for the day-to-day operation of the schools. They're not. They provide some funding. What would your responsibility be as a county commissioner to the students, teachers, and to the county? What is your role? What's your responsibility?
Previously, I stated I want to make sure that we ensure that we retain a certain amount of money
Okay.
in our budget through
Yep.
taxes or what have you
Yep.
to ensure that we can maintain the highest stipend to keep teachers here
Got
in
it.
Cumberland County. Also, I think that the county can also spend money in terms of helping with our severe and profound special education department. We need to make sure that those teachers and those workers and assistants have a special merit pay or something.
Right.
Because if you ever dealt with special needs kids that
Oh,
are
yeah.
severe and profound or
Yeah.
are
I have actually many years
aggressive,
ago. It's challenging.
it's very challenging. It's
Oh,
much
yeah.
different than your regular classroom.
It is.
So I think the county is responsible, should take that under its wing. So my thing is making sure we manage the money appropriately, but make sure we're earmarking it for things that will make changes within the school. And in terms of assistance and funding, I am a true believer of legacy schools in the community. I think we should do whatever we can to keep them in those communities. We need to make sure they're upfitted and prepared and have proper infrastructure, do whatever it takes, the best you can to keep them there, because schools are the cornerstones for many neighborhoods,
yeah.
especially like a neighborhood like E. Smith.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you again. We're talking to William Toonk Wesley, running for County Commissioner at large, Cumberland County. One thing you often hear from residents, both in the city and county, are elected officials are disconnected. They're not as engaged with the community. How would you engage with the citizens in your community, residents in your community, if elected to county commissioner? Any strategies that you may have?
Well, one strategy I have is that, one, I still work in the school system. I'm not leaving my job. So
Yeah.
I'm going to deal with parents and individuals every day.
Yeah.
Second strategy, I think, is, of course, you have meetings with your constituents.
Right.
You have town hall meetings. You make sure you can do teleconference a period of time quarterly. I'm not going to say weekly because that's a lot to ask from anyone.
Right, right.
But to make sure you have consistent contact is imperative. And to be honest with you, my other job, because I am a teacher, an educator, I do Grubhub. I deliver. So I get the opportunity to see the county on a lot of different levels and a lot
That's
of
good.
different areas. So yes, to make sure you stay connected is by being out there and making sure that you allow yourself to be approachable.
Great, thank you. So March 3rd is going to be the primary.
Yes.
Why should people go out and vote for William Toonk Wesley on March 3rd? Why you?
Why me? I have the experience of working in politics for a lot of years. I have an opportunity to create and help structure certain plans. I also am an educator within, so I still knows the ins and out in the education school system, the needs of the students, and I have a passion for our youth, our elderly, and our veterans. Now, with that being said, you know, in education, people don't care. Students don't care how much you know. They want to know how much you care.
Yeah,
But
that's true.
there's a piece to that. You have to be prepared for them, educated, trained,
Right.
to teach them properly, but you have to show them that you care. Then the last part in education, which I will bring to the county commissioner, is making sure you are collaborative. And I'm not talking about just with the city.
Right.
I'm not talking about just with the state. I'm talking about the national. I'm talking about the various stakeholders across
Right.
the nation, across the city, across the county. Why? Funding matters. And in order to get the proper funding you need, you have to be able to be approachable.
Right,
You have to build up. So I have that skill set.
Yeah, and thank you. We've been talking to William Toonk Wesley, running for Cumberland County Commissioner at large. Thank you for joining us today on Canada Conversations.
Thank you for having me. I am so glad to be here.
Yeah, great. And you've been listening to Canada Conversations.